At this time, I'd like to call the regular meeting of the New Ulm City Council for October 21st, 2014, 5 p.m. to order. First item on the agenda is your consent agenda items. What's your wishes?
I'll offer a motion to approve.
Second.
We got a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda items. Any discussion on any? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Item 2A, conduct a public hearing to consider a resolution approving the final plot of the Wake Fourth Edition located at 1320 Oak Street. Mr. Kaler, is there anything on that you have, or?
No, Mr. President, actually, you could open it up for public hearing.
Okay.
Mr.
Anybody here?
Schmalbrook might have anything.
Okay. Anybody here like to be heard on the Oak Street?
Hearing none, I'll offer a motion to close the public hearing, offer a resolution, waive the reading, and approving the final plat of the Wedge's Fourth Edition located at 1320 Oak Street.
I'll second it.
We got a motion and a second to close the public hearing and offer the resolution, waive the reading.
Just,
Yes.
this is the final plat, and again, the planning commission had no issues with this.
Any more discussion? Seeing none, Finance Director, please call the roll.
Counselor Fisher,
Yes.
Counselor Rockvam,
Yes.
Counselor Schultz,
Yes.
Counselor Webster,
Yes.
President Schmitz.
Yes, motion carries. Item 2B, conduct a public hearing to consider a resolution approving the special assessments for the 2013-2014 weed, snow removal, and sidewalk replacement charges. Anything on that, Mr. Kaler? Nope.
No, Mr.
All right.
President.
Anybody here like to be heard on that?
Mr. President.
Yes.
And city council members, you'll note that the list includes approximately 50% are repeat assessments for the parcels for snow removal. And it's something that you had asked in past years to see who's annually on the list and who are new, so,
The frequent flyers.
yeah.
Thank you. Any more discussion? Seeing none, I entertain a motion.
I move that we close the public hearing and waive the reading of the resolution establishing the special assessments.
We got a motion and a second to close the public hearing and offer the resolution, waive the reading. Any more discussion?
Who's the second?
Oh.
Second.
Sorry. Now, we had a second. Any more discussion? Seeing none. Finance Director, please call a roll.
Counselor Fisher,
Yes.
Counselor Rockvam,
Yes.
Counselor Schultz,
Yes.
Counselor Webster,
Yes.
President Schmitz.
Yes, motion carries. Item 2C, conduct a public hearing considering a resolution adopting the final assessment rules for the 2013 Utility Street and Alley Improvement Group 1. Anybody here like to be heard on the public hearing?
Mr. President,
Yes, Steve.
I have not received any written comments or objections. If you do approve the assessment rolls after the public hearing, subsequent to the hearing, there's one little glitch on number 1 Franklin Street. There was 2 parcels that requested some additional sidewalk work be assessed to their parcel, and I made a mistake and I assessed to 1 parcel that did not get the sidewalk. So we've got to deduct about $350 from 1 parcel, but we'll amend that if it's approved.
Okay.
Okay.
Any more discussion? Seeing none, nobody like to be heard from the audience, entertain a motion? Oh, no, don't need one of this. Okay, we'll go on to,
Uh,
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there is.
below.
Yeah, there is.
Yes, we do.
Below the,
oh, way down the bottom. All
Resolution,
right, go for it.
Page 2.
Yep.
I'll offer the resolution, waive the reading, closing the public hearing, and adopting the final assessment roll for the 2013 Utility Street and Alley Improvement Group 1, project payable over a 10-year period, along with a 3.60 annual interest, along with the deduction from the
Second.
overcharge.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second, closing the public hearing, offer the resolution, waiving the reading. Any more discussion? Seeing none, Finance Director, please call the roll.
Counselor Fisher,
Yes.
Counselor Rockvam.
Yes.
Counselor Schultz.
Yes.
Counselor Webster.
Yes.
President Schmitz.
Yes, motion carries. Item 3A, consider a motion to accept a proposal submitted by the Citizens Bank of Minnesota for the upgrading of the City Hall parking lot sign.
I'm going to offer the motion.
Okay,
I'll second.
we got a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Mr. President,
Yes.
I assume you will want the appropriate contract drawn up for your consideration and approval?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I want to make just a couple of comments on this. I think it was probably 2 years ago when I sat down with Audra Scheneman from the chamber and said, how can we figure out how to turn on that sign? There's got to be a switch somewhere. And many meetings later with the city manager and other staff, we got this thing to where it's at now. And I just want to go on record thanking Citizens Bank for stepping up and offering this alternative that, different than what we originally thought. As stated by Citizens Bank, with them, or maybe are we going to have somebody to kind of walk through this? And,
I think
Maybe we
my
should.
my request would be that we do have a little bit of a summary of what the approach is. It's my understanding that the proposal by Citizens Bank is basically that they have just a ground lease on the property that they're owning. They sign from the street up, and they'll be completely in charge of it. But I would like someone to sort of summarize that, whoever feels perhaps it would be
we have,
the
Lou, you want to summarize that?
representative of
Would that
Citizens
be all right?
Bank, or
We put Audra on the hot spot? No?
Name and address for the record, please.
My name is Lou Geisfeld. I'm with Citizens Bank Minnesota. Do you want me to go through the whole thing or just answer
Yeah,
the
just-
questions?
summary.
Just a
Just
little
some
brief
of the
summary.
highlights of it.
Well, the ground lease, what we're talking about is renting the one stall that the sign sits on. By all accounts, the upper part of the sign is not salvageable for any reason. It can't be rehabbed or anything else, and so it would be totally removed at our expense. And in consideration of that, then we would own the base. And we would put a new sign up. I think the specs are in the contract on that. We want a 10-year lease, which is what we think is the useful life of the sign. So during that time, we will have it under a maintenance agreement. It'll be serviced twice a year, and we will try to do a better job keeping it lit up than what has happened in the past. We will have our name on it permanently, so we feel because of that we are responsible. It's our image in town, and we think that we do not need supervision on the ads that are on it or who we let use it. We don't see at the present time that we'll have to limit that, but we do reserve the right to limit it to 50% if in fact there's more demand for this than what we thought. A couple of things that we did object to in the proposal that I think maybe should be addressed is we took exception with listing the city as a lost payee on the insurance, as we didn't feel that they had an insurable interest the way that we were structuring this. And then we wanted to have complete say over the appropriateness of the ads without any input from the city. And also, Section 311, we wanted that removed just because we felt that with our name on it, we're going to keep it lit up as well as anybody can. And I think we've been a responsible corporate citizen with our advertising, and hopefully we'll be a better owner of the sign than our predecessors. So, it looks like, to me, I mean, I summarize this by saying I think it's a win-win. I think the city gets out of the expense of removing it. You still get the cash flow from the lot rent that you would get if you did remove it, and you do get access to it for some city advertising. I have spoken with Audra from the chamber. We haven't worked out all the details on this, but she has expressed an interest in being the collecting point for the ads. You know, there'll be a period of time to get smart on how that all works, because this is a high-tech sign and there'll be pictures on it, and we'll have to learn how to get the messages in the proper format so we can get it on the sign. All of the work of inputting that will be done by someone at our bank, and the controls for the sign will be there. But we'll work with the chamber, and they'll be the collecting point both from the city and from any nonprofits that want to use the sign.
So anybody that would want to buy an ad, either whether it be a birthday ad, a anniversary ad, or would one of the businesses downtown would want to buy an ad, everybody will go through the chamber
Right.
for that ad, and then you'll be responsible for your own ads for the bank.
That's correct.
So everything will go through, in my understanding, there'd be a cost for some of those things, and that would be turned over to the chamber, correct?
That's correct.
Okay,
My preference is that's not what that sign should be used for.
correct.
And so we priced that at $100 per week, and we would just let the chamber keep that as a revenue source for them. But hopefully, I don't see that being the majority use for the sign.
I think in your information you submitted to us, you put $50, so, but maybe that's something
I
that's
put
going to be.
50. Maybe it should be 100.
Maybe it should be, I don't know.
I misspoke, yeah, 50.
Okay. And then my understanding, one of the other conditions is that the city would take care of the electricity for the sign.
We'll pay the electricity, we just want it required that there'll always be electricity supplied to the sign, which is there.
Okay, I
It's
just want to make sure it's clear on that.
It says the city agrees to provide and maintain electrical service to the lot sufficient to operate the message center. The bank will pay all monthly electrical costs for operation of its sign.
Okay.
Right.
The surface of the lot, if it ever had to be touched up, I guess we felt that that would be the city's expense as well as cleaning it. I can't imagine that anybody would ever park anything on it, but we asked that if that was the case, that the city parking people deal with that.
Sure. What's your timeline if this is passed here today?
Well, it depends upon how long it takes to get this contract that the city wants, but, because there's always some negotiation with that. Weather permitting, we'd like to get this thing lit up as soon as possible, but I don't know that it's going to happen yet this fall, and I don't know if they'll do the work in the wintertime.
Okay.
We'd like to get it going as soon as possible.
Sure.
You? Have you figured out this noise issue, or has your consultant figured it out and how to deal with it?
The
Well,
wind.
that's all coming down. We think it's from all that wire cage up there, but I don't know that for a fact, but I hear it every morning when I go to work, and it's really kind of an eerie sound.
I've been hearing that from a lot of people too, that
Yeah.
there's some sound with that old sign.
Yep.
We'd understood that it was the wind passing through the sign as opposed to
That's
that
what I think I
cage.
heard, yeah.
Yeah, and I have no way of knowing myself, but hopefully the new design won't allow that. I mean, we'd like to get rid of that if possible.
I believe the conversion from the actual light bulb itself to LEDs, which is more of a solid panel, will eliminate that sign.
I believe there still has to be ventilation for the heat, but I don't think it's quite as much as they needed before with the old bulbs. I don't know, but we will do what we can to eliminate the noise, because I hate it as much as anybody.
Well, I just want to go on record again thanking Citizens Bank for stepping forward. This would have been, I mean, I wanted this sign lit up somehow, and it would have probably cost the city, if Citizens Bank hadn't came forward, then it would have been up to us as taxpayers, do we want it lit up or tore down? And we would have had to make that decision probably today or in the very near future, because that sign just couldn't sit there forever blank. It just doesn't make our city look good. So I'm looking forward to getting that thing lit up, and again, I thank Citizens Bank for stepping forward on this, so.
I agree. I think it's a win-win-win for everybody.
It is, and the Chamber as well. Chamber's going to
Yeah.
going to market our city, market our downtown, market businesses that might want to use it for certain things, and when Ken Rockvan's birthday comes around, there'll be an ad up there
Oh,
somewhere, I'm
that's
sure.
right.
I think, Mr. President, City Council members, the only issue that staff had was just a reminder that current ordinance does not allow flashing lights. And one could argue that the LEDs scrolling messages across from left to right or top to bottom could constitute a flashing light. But generally speaking, I think what the ordinance was set up was for, so you don't have
Yeah.
constant flashing lights that somebody could mistake for, or be a distraction to driving. Whereas it's probably old language that's in our ordinance, but generally speaking, scrolling has always been allowed. Constant flashing signs would not be allowed. So that was the only thing that and I wouldn't anticipate that you'd be,
I don't think this will be any different than
Flashing,
other signs that are currently on Broadway at
Yeah.
7th North. I think it's the same type of sign.
Yeah, and we have the same issue at MLC as far as their electronic sign going up too.
well, I don't know that any of the sign police go out and check regularly. I do remember seeing a large retail lumber establishment when they put their new sign up on Highway 14, that when they first turned it on, it was flashing,
Yeah.
and it no longer flashes like that. So that just was an attention getter, and I think it serves its purpose, but I think for our purposes, I think the code is listed as trying to reduce distractions to drivers as they're passing by.
And like you
So-
said, if it was an old ordinance, it was set up when these signs very first
That
came up,
time.
and it was like, oh my gosh, what is that? Well, now everybody's used to that all the
Yeah,
time.
that's
so
right.
Yeah, they're everywhere.
We
so
need to
it's-
tweak that policy.
yeah,
We need to tweak it,
exactly.
so. Okay.
Any more questions?
Lou,
Do we have a
thank you very
timeline
much.
on that contract, Hugh?
Glad to help out.
Thank you.
We'll get that out in the next couple of weeks.
Okay. Hopefully we can get it moving for you. It's been, like I
Yes.
said, a couple of years already, and another 4 years has been dead, so it'd be nice to get that done, so.
Great.
Thank you.
Maybe you'll be able to get the top off and before the howling winter winds come through.
I don't know, I think when they come down, they're gonna wanna do it all at the same time.
Oh, okay. So they do that too, the sign install people tear down the old? Okay, I didn't know if that was two separate.
We've got a couple bits on it, and both bits, they're gonna be responsible for the
Okay.
takedown and removal.
Okay. Great. Let's call the question.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Item 3B, consider a proposal for the provisions of the city PUC legal services as provided by the appointed city attorney's office.
I'll offer the motion.
A second.
We got a motion and a second. Any discussion?
I think, what are the issues to decide here?
We got the one issue to decide about future annual increases.
Annual increases, and what did we decide about the length of the contract?
I
Less
guess
than-
my thinking is, like, I was the one that proposed this to start with, and I would like to see a minimum of a 5-year contract.
Right.
I would like to see a minimum of a 5-year contract as well. I think it's important that we have that kind of continuity. And then the other issue is some sort of formula for determining an inflationary increase. I suppose there's various ideas of what it could be tied to. I think we usually have a particular increase for the non-union employees. That would be one idea. I'm sure if anybody else has got any other ideas.
I would just tie it to the CPI and done with it, whatever it is.
Which CPI?
The one that we use actually for the employees here,
Okay.
cost of living index, and done.
Is that,
Do they always get cost of living?
No, but I'm just saying for the legal services, then we know exactly what it's going to be, and there's no,
I could live with that.
The consumer price index of the CPI is what
Mhm.
you'd use as a basis.
Well, there are times, Counselor Fisher, where it is zero. I mean, sometimes, not
Right.
too often, but.
Right.
I think we should, just for the public to back up, that we put this out for bids through October 17th for, it went out to, according to my notes here, 5 different law firms, and we only received one response and one request, and that's from Nierengarten and Hippert Services. So I think just so people know that we didn't get multiple bids and multiple proposals. So,
well, and so the motion that we have really should be amended to include the number of years for the contract duration and the way of increases. And who made the motion?
Might I make a suggestion?
Oh,
I guess
yes.
because the contract would go into effect, I would anticipate on January
January
1 of 2015, that if you give us the direction, 5-year contract and how you want that to be done, that, we'll bring that back
Okay.
in the December meeting when we do the budget and everything else, where we actually make the appointments, just like normal. And then we can deal with the finality of it, I guess, at that point in time. And that'll give us time to maybe come back, if we didn't think of something, bring it back and get your input on it.
All right.
In the lengthy time that I spend on the agenda items for each meeting, if you notice on page 3, we have a lot of that explained, that the current numbers that are there is a 1% increase over the existing year, and that the other items, the health insurance premiums, da-da-da-da are all listed. So in terms of, if we need to take a look at that cost item and to see if it fits into the parameters that we were expecting, anticipating. I have no problems with it. And I think the 5 years is a right time. In terms of the length of it. So,
So we have a request as part of the proposal for 2015, so we would not need the increase.
Really, it's just really for the remaining 4 years.
Subsequent-
2016
for the
is when-
subsequent
How do you
years.
calculate that?
Right.
Right, so we need to
Right.
make a final decision on 16.
Well, and maybe we can make that, maybe we can, when we make the final decision, we can have a couple of options put
Correct.
forth by staff.
correct.
That would probably be the best way to
Right.
go.
Yeah, I think as long as it's consistent, well, either way, if we're going to do the consumer price index or the, whatever we give the non-union folks or something of that nature, I think it's,
Or,
either is fine with me, 'cause as long as we're
Right.
staying consistent, so.
right.
um,
And we have something concrete that we know what we're
Right.
doing.
Yeah, and, I think they presented a pretty good prima facie case for it, I don't know if they still use that term or not.
Sure.
Okay.
And I want to just thank Roger Hippert and his office for putting this proposal together. It's a lot of work, a lot of information here. I know it's stressful as far as going out for bids, but I think we had to do that step and go that route. But I strongly support Roger and his team and moving forward in this contract. So I just want to go on record saying that as well.
Goes back to his old days of forensic in high school. And some of those Saturday meetings.
So are we gonna add the 5 years to the motion, and then you want?
Yeah, I would, I'm the second.
Yeah,
Okay.
correct.
All right.
Okay. So we do have a motion and a second to give the contract to Roger Hippert for 5 years. Any more discussion?
I think we're talking about the increase yet, too.
Right, and we're gonna make that decision later.
When it comes with the
It's
contract.
also-
Okay.
It's also in their proposal what they would, about an increase.
Right.
Right. But we should make that decision with a couple of different options, I think.
So we'll worry about that when
Yep.
it comes.
We'll worry
Well,
about
for
that later.
2015 is
Right.
7.
Yes.
So, okay, any more discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Good luck, Roger. Item 4A, consider resolution approving the hardship deferral for Walt Grams at 721 South Minnesota Street.
I'll offer that resolution, waive the reading.
Second.
We got a motion and a second to offer the resolution, waive the reading. Any discussion?
You should just know that that house is being offered for sale.
Yeah.
That's in my ward, and that's
Okay,
it's being offered for sale, so.
thank you. No more discussion? Finance Director, please call the roll.
Counselor Fisher,
Yes.
Counselor Rockvam.
Yes.
Counselor Schultz.
Yes.
Counselor Webster.
Yes.
President Schmitz.
Yes, motion carries. Item 4B, consider resolution accepting donations and memorials to the New Ulm Public Library.
We'll offer the resolution to waive the reading, accepting those.
Second.
We got a motion and a second to offer the resolution, waive the reading, accept the donation memorials to the library. Any discussion?
Great donations.
Yes,
What a
thank you,
bid.
thank you, thank you.
And the pen will be hot again, won't it?
Yes, it
Yes,
will.
it's smoking.
We're already done.
Finance Director, please call the roll.
Counselor Fisher,
Yes.
Counselor Rockvam.
Yes.
Counselor Schultz.
Yes.
Counselor Webster.
Yes,
President Schmitz.
Yes, motion carries. Item 4C, consider a motion approving the assessments, or reassessments of the 2007 special assessments on Lot 3, Block 4, Dakota West Edition, and set a date for public hearing for Tuesday, November 18, 2014, at 5 p.m.
so moved.
Second.
A motion to second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Item 4D, First reading of ordinance number 14-123, fourth series, amending section 9.04 of the city code of the city of New Ulm relative to zoning in said city. Mr. Niergarten.
Mr. President, this is ordinance number 14-123, fourth series, City of New Ulm, Brown County, Minnesota. An ordinance amending section 9.04 of the city code of the city of New Ulm relative to zoning in said city. Be it ordained by the city council of the city of New Ulm, section 1, that the zoning map referenced in subdivision 2 of section 9.04 of the city code is hereby amended as follows. That the property described in the attached exhibit A1, heretofore zoned RA Agricultural Residence District, is hereby redesignated and rezoned to R1, Single Family Residence District. Section 2, that the city engineer is hereby ordered to make the necessary alterations to the official map of the city of New Ulm to reflect this change. Section 3, that this ordinance shall take effect and shall be enforced 30 days from and after its adoption, approval, and publication, and the usual form of signature, attestation, and approval follows.
Thank you. Item 4E, consider a motion authorizing the renewal of the snow removal agreement between Nicollet County and the city of New Ulm relating to winter maintenance on County State Highway number 37.
I'll offer the motion.
Second.
We got a motion and a second. Any discussion? Just a normal routine. So,
Same old, same old.
Same old, same old.
all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Item 4F, consider scheduling a joint city PUC commission strategic planning session. Mr. Cummins.
Mr. President, City Council members, this idea was brought up, I think, maybe about a month ago. It was I think it was Councilor Schultz. And then last week, Councilor Fisher sent an email asking if that would be a good idea to hold a strategic planning session, since we haven't done one since 2007. I think staff will prepare and do whatever the city council wishes to do. It likely would be, done in 2015. The last time we did strategic planning session, it was a 2-day event, noon on, let's say, Thursday to noon on Friday, kind of time frame. We held it at the Gainey Center in Owatonna, and we had Doran Hunter and Perry Wood, two professors from Mankato State University, be the moderators or facilitators. We had the City Council, the Public Utility Commission members, City Attorney, and City and PUC Department heads invited to that event. We had 23 people in attendance, plus the 2 facilitators. Typically, media is invited. Sometimes they show up, sometimes they don't. Sometimes they wait for the report at the end and see what occurred. It is anticipated that the cost of this particular type of activity, which is what I would call a mini strategic plan session, would run approximately, what I have down here, $9,000 to $11,000, something like that. And that's roughly $5,000-6,000 for the facilitator, and the rest would be travel and hotel rooms and food and whatever else, if that were selected to go off-site. On-site, we have facilities here, whether at the current Holiday Inn, or you use one of the city facilities to do the same thing. You don't have those costs. You just end up with a facilitator and maybe cookies and pop and stuff like that. So, it can range anywhere from, $5,000 to $10,000, $11,000, depending on how you want to go about it. The full strategic planning session is like a couple-month program where the facilitator comes in, meets with all interested organizations and committees and boards and commissions from all, areas of the community, tries to take what they believe is important and put it into a report, and then the city council then meets and identifies what the goals will be. That runs a little bit more. That's about $10,000 to $25,000, and it's really facilitator or consultant to come to the community to meet with all those. It's a time and administrative type of cost that adds to that. And that becomes really big and typically not nearly as specific. It's a much more broader document. Where do you see your community going from all walks of life and all groups? Whereas when the city council goes, they're probably looking at things that they have control over, which are streets, parks, how we do things, housing, things like that. If you notice, I did attach the Strategic Planning Retreat, City of Newell, December 13 through 14, 2007 report. And it identified 3 of the most important things that had been identified by that group. And they were losing population growth, and how young families not being in the community impacts the economy for schools and cities, lack of job diversity, and infrastructure aging and cost of upgrading. On the last one, that was requested, or staff was requested to prepare I believe it was a 5-year infrastructure plan that was put together by Mr. Kaler, talking about the quality of our streets and what has to be done. And if you remember, it's about that time the city council tried to put more money into streets, and through economic shortfalls that hadn't been followed through to the extent that the city council had wished back at that point in time. The infrastructure, like a job, diversity, that was one of those items that actually went counter to the Blandon approach to economic development. And so even though we identified as a lack of job diversity, let's say we've got 2 electric motor winding companies, we were actually looking for a 3rd electric winding motor company to come at the time. So, some of the things that we were doing were actually running against, the strategic plan per se. And the reason for that in that particular situation was we have all these skilled workers that know how to wind motors, and the ability to bring somebody in and take advantage of that was, of interest. The EDC, Newell EDC was, working on that. So it's kind of interesting how we came to a conclusion that, we want more diversity, and yet the Newell EDC was trying to piggyback on existing strengths. And then lost population growth, young families, obviously that's tied to lack of job diversity. And both of those items were put together, in a report within, approximately 6 months after the strategic planning session, and the report was given to the city council and says, here's what we're doing. So one could, I also identify that housing was one of those issues, and of course the Newell EDA, worked on the Milford Heights housing project about shortly after that. So there are things that came out of the strategic planning session that are actually identifiable as to what the results were, and they're brick and mortar. It's concrete stuff. So I guess open to, if the city council wishes to do this, that we I guess we've got a couple of decisions to make, and let me get to that. Well, I guess we have to go this way. The decisions are, do we want to do a larger scale strategic planning session? Do we want to do the mini? Do we want to do it in town, or do we want to do it out of town?
Well, I think in terms of cost, doing it in town, you'd be saving the lodging fees. And that way, if somebody had to be called back to the office in an emergency situation, you're right here for that. Hope that things like that don't happen, but
Yeah. Well, there's pluses and minuses with
Sure.
it, and I know, I talked to an organization that the city has used in the past. Basically, remember the firm of Brimmeyer, is the, we'll call them the headhunter that the city used to process the city manager applications and to bring the candidates to the city council for interview and that. Jim Brimmeyer and his business has been purchased by a person by the name of Richard Firstman, and they do strategic planning. So I just contacted Richard and said, we're kind of interested in doing this. And, one of the things, he says, there's always pros and cons. The pro for going off-site is that people then disconnect. They're off-site, they left their work back in town, and they can kind of pay 100% attention. The con is it costs money. I figured, $250 per person per attendee kind of a thing for the room and food and travel and all the things that are associated with going out of town. And so that just doubles the price.
Yeah.
Now, can you have a session in the community? You probably can. You just got to tell everybody you got to concentrate, turn your phones off, and leave them in your car and that kind of thing. So,
And I think you kind of have that problem now because everybody takes their phone with them. Their work is with them no matter where you go.
yeah.
So I think an in-town option probably would be fitting.
I took a look at this work from 2007, and certainly it was before I was on the council, and this group did a really nice job. I mean, there's a lot of very good information in here. I'm not so sure that even 7 years later, in 2014, a lot of these similar issues would populate to the top again. There might be a few changes in here, and there, as far as concerns or positive things that we have going on. But my guess is we'd come up with pretty darn close to what I see here. So I was just giving it some thought about how could we utilize our time well, and I know some city councils have work sessions. We've had some work sessions in the past, and we need to hear from our department heads on where they're at with some of these particular issues. But I was kind of thinking a department head, city council group, and just bringing this and flushing it back out and letting people take a look at it instead of going. There was a lot of steps here to get to
Right.
all this data. I mean, I know this took some time. I don't think we need to start from scratch and start all over again. I think we could prioritize what we see on here, and that could be done ahead of time before we even met. And then we'd already kind of know what some of the top 3-4 issues are, and then let's spend some time talking about the 2 or 3 top issues and see if we can come up with some 2-year, 5-year, 10-year plans to address some of them issues. That's where my head's going with this.
Right. I agree with you, Les, that way you're taking a look at near issues a little bit down the road, and then further down the road
Yeah.
of what could be happening within the structure that we have. And, you have to involve PUC. You need the city attorney for this. I think it's very important. I mean, I can remember the one prior to it, we had one up in Plymouth. I think it was put on by the chamber at that time. And it had a different scope and sequence altogether. But I think I think the city has gone pretty long without it. But by the same token, I think we're doing fairly well with, even though we haven't had one.
I guess I agree with Les, as far as the plan. Not too many things are probably have changed drastically in the last 7 years, and some of those same goals will be the goals that would come to the surface. I'm wondering if an internal strategic plan, where does the city, what's our strategic plan more on paper for our roads? What do we see in the next 10 years? Some of our infrastructure, maybe more of an internal strategic plan rather than the citywide type strategic plan.
I concur. I think that there's certain things that the city can control and things that they
Yeah.
can't control.
Yeah.
And while it's nice to have the type of citywide planning, that I think that's not what I'm thinking about.
Right.
I'd like to focus on what the city can do.
Right.
And I would just as soon like to sleep in my own bed.
Right.
So,
agree.
and there's beautiful, lovely spots in New Ulm, and I think this group is perfectly capable of, putting everything else aside. I don't think we have to go
Right, I
10
agree.
miles out of town in
Right.
order to do that. So I'd like to be in town and and I agree, we'll start from this and, focus on that. So if you can find someone who can do that magic facilitating for us.
Well, like I say, Mr. Firstman would be very interested in performing those activities, but there's 200 firms out there that'd be more than willing to do the same thing, much less probably 20 professors at Mankato State do the same thing.
So are you saying what type of a person do we want? Are you asking
No, I
us
guess
that,
what
or-
I'm saying is, if you want me to do an RFP, I could send something out and people could, say, this is what it's gonna cost, there's certain, I can go on the manager's listserv and say, who have you guys used in the past, and get a list and send an RFP to maybe 5 or 6 different firms that do this sort of thing.
And I would, what would their approach be as well? I'd be interested in sort of their philosophical approach to this sort of thing. Are we all gonna stand in a circle and, share things, or, I don't mean that's a kind of a joke, but, I would like to know what their approach
And that we've done a
to
bunch of
things.
work, and that we've done a bunch of
Yes,
work
right.
already, that we don't
Right.
need to do this from scratch again.
Yeah.
We need to take it and bring it forward.
But as far as the people that should be involved, I'd like to see the department heads involved, and as many as can get away and.
I would think if it's in New Ulm here, we did have a few that were unable to make it, but
Yeah.
if
You're always
it's in
gonna have
town,
that.
it'd probably
Oh,
easier.
sure.
Yeah. And taking a look at it, the beginning with looking at the things that were done in '07. Scope, sequence, and structure, very important in putting together a program like this. Very important.
I think too, and if we schedule it far enough out, let's say start it now and look at after, the election and stuff like that, you're gonna have February or something like that, do it during the winter months.
Yeah.
People should be
sure.
able to schedule their
Oh,
work
yeah.
and stuff like that they should be around
Would
and
it
stress
help-
that it's important.
Would it help, Brian, if you had the infamous subcommittee type thing to help you put this together? Would that help you give a little more direction? Or do you rather not? It's
Let's let him go out on his own, see how well he
Right, let's
does.
see how he
okay?
does.
Okay, just throwing out an idea.
And we.
But I thought I did rather well on the city attorney RFP, so I think I
that's-
could probably.
Well, and we've got your number if we think we need to know something more.
No,
So with that in mind, I'll offer the motion to request the city manager schedule down the road and set up a strategic planning session in 2050, including the people listed and any others that may come to mind, and to look at it as being a local event.
I'll second.
We got a motion to second. Any more discussion on it?
And we're looking at guesstimating in February, right? I think that's
I would
probably a
say
good
get through
month.
the holidays and.
Yep, get through the holidays and maybe early February.
It's a short month.
No more discussion? All in favor, say aye. Whoop.
Aye.
Whoops.
Resolution?
Was there a second?
No, it's not a resolution.
No, but I offer the
Who
motion.
seconded?
I think Les seconded it.
I second.
Yes.
Oh, you did, okay,
Okay.
sorry.
All right. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, no. Motion carries. Item 4G, consider resolution accepting donations offered to the city of New Ulm for the Park and Recreation Department.
I'll offer the resolution, waive the reading.
We got a motion and a second to offer the resolution, waive the reading. Any more discussion? Seeing none? Mayor will take his pen out again.
Yes, sir.
All right. Finance Director, please call the roll.
Counselor Fisher,
Yes.
Counselor Rockvan?
Yes.
Counselor Schultz?
Yes.
Counselor Webster?
Yes.
President Schmitz?
Yes, motion carries. Item 5A, consider a motion to adjourn till Tuesday, November 4th, 2014, at 4 p.m. due to the election laws requiring no public meetings to be held between 6 p.m. and 8 p.m. on election days.
So moved.
Second.
We got a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. With no more business at the meeting, meeting adjourned.
Alrighty.